There are countless ways attraction reveals itself without a single word being spoken. Sometimes it's in the silence of a stare, other times in the unspoken electricity carried in body language. When someone feels that magnetic pull, their actions often betray what their lips never confess. These signals may be subtle, but once you learn to notice them, you'll see the difference between casual interaction and undeniable chemistry. The eyes are often the very first messengers of attraction, long before any words come forward. A look that lingers carries far more weight than one that simply glances and moves away. When someone is pulled towards you, their gaze becomes different. It isn't casual, it isn't random, and it certainly isn't forgettable. It's deeper, warmer, and it feels like it stays just a little too long, as if they're afraid to look away because something magnetic holds them in place. The pupils might dilate slightly, almost like the eyes are opening wider to take in more of you, to study details that most people would miss. And when that gaze locks with yours, it creates an invisible current, the kind of energy that makes silence louder than words. There is a difference between polite eye contact and the type that carries a spark of desire. Polite glances flicker quickly, used as a gesture of respect or acknowledgement, but attraction creates a gaze that doesn't rush. It scans, it explores, and sometimes it drops from the eyes to the lips or traces the outline of the face before coming back to meet your stare again. This isn't done consciously most of the time. It's instinctive, almost primal. The eyes, after all, are the most honest part of the human body. While words can be crafted and carefully chosen, the eyes reveal what is real. You may also notice that this kind of look feels different emotionally. It makes you feel noticed in a way that is personal, almost intimate, even in a crowded room. It creates the sense that the rest of the world has faded into the background, leaving only two people suspended in an unspoken conversation. That momentary lock of eyes can be so powerful it quickens the heartbeat, creates nervous laughter, or makes time slow down. It is chemistry translated into vision. What's even more telling is how often those eyes return. Attraction has a way of pulling the gaze back over and over again, even after being caught. Sometimes it's subtle, a quick glance from across the room. Other times it's bold and unashamed, a steady stare that almost challenges you to acknowledge it. In both cases, the meaning is the same. There's a fascination that refuses to be hidden. So when the eyes linger, when they carry softness and intensity at the same time, when they look as though they're memorizing the moment, it's more than just looking. It's the soul reaching out, confessing interest through the most powerful form of silent communication. The body never lies, and one of the clearest ways attraction reveals itself is in how space is managed. When someone feels pulled towards you, distance begins to shrink without conscious thought. It might start subtly, leaning in a little closer when you speak, angling shoulders and feet so that they align with you, finding small excuses to remain in your orbit longer than necessary. This isn't coincidence, it's instinct. The body is always searching for closeness when the heart and mind are stirred, and it often does so before the person themselves even realizes it. Think of the way energy shifts when proximity changes. In a room full of people, most maintain personal space out of habit or respect, but attraction challenges that invisible boundary. The pull becomes almost magnetic, drawing the body to tilt forward, to erase the usual distance, to create a sense of intimacy even in a public setting. Sometimes it's leaning across the table a little more than required, or choosing to stand just close enough that your presence can be felt without a single touch. These are not accidents. They are small physical betrayals of a deeper interest. It is not only about closing space, but also about orientation. The body naturally turns toward what it desires. Shoulders face forward, knees angle inward, and the torso aligns directly with the source of attraction. This type of positioning creates a private channel, as if the body is saying, "You are the center of my focus." It doesn't matter how many people are nearby, that alignment sets one person apart from everyone else. It's as though the body builds an invisible barrier, placing you in a world of two. What makes this sign even more powerful is the consistency with which it happens. Proximity and orientation are difficult to fake over time. While words may be measured and restrained, the body responds automatically. Leaning closer when laughter breaks out, inching nearer when emotions rise, finding ways to narrow the distance even when unnecessary. These patterns reveal attraction in its purest form. And within that closeness, there is always a shift in energy. The air feels charged, the atmosphere a little heavier, the awareness of space heightened. It's in those small moments, when someone forgets to pull back, when personal space no longer feels like a boundary but an invitation, that you can sense the truth. The body reaches out silently, declaring desire without ever speaking a word. Touch is one of the most powerful signals of attraction, and it often begins in ways so subtle they can almost be mistaken for accidents. A hand brushing against yours, a light tap on the arm during conversation, or the gentle contact that lingers just a fraction longer than it should. These small gestures are never random when desire is present. They are attempts to create a connection that words alone cannot capture, tiny sparks disguised as casual interaction. What makes them different from ordinary touches is the intent behind them. They are not about necessity, they are about closeness, about bridging the gap between two people without crossing it too boldly. When attraction exists, the body looks for excuses to touch. It might appear playful, like a nudge after a joke, or protective, like guiding you through a doorway with a hand at your back. Sometimes it's not even a direct touch, but the hovering nearness of a hand, the brushing away of something from your shoulder, or the subtle mirroring of your gestures that creates the sensation of intimacy. Each small act is an unspoken way of saying, I want to be closer, without the risk of putting it into words. The difference lies in how these touches feel. Ordinary contact is functional. It has no weight. But attraction-charged contact lingers in the mind and body long after it happens. A brief graze can ignite awareness. A hand on the arm can send a ripple of energy through the entire moment. The physical world becomes a stage where emotions perform in silence, and touch becomes the script that reveals what the voice doesn't dare. It isn't only about direct touch, though. Mirroring plays an equally important role. When someone subconsciously copies your movements, crossing their legs when you do, leaning forward when you lean, adjusting their hand in the same way, it shows a desire to sync with your rhythm. It is the body's natural way of building harmony, of silently saying, I'm aligned with you. What's most telling is how effortless it seems. Attraction rarely shouts. It whispers through moments that could easily be dismissed, if not for the intensity they carry. That accidental brush of fingers, the warmth of a hand that stayed just a little too long, the small repetition of your gesture, it all weaves together into a language that speaks of closeness and longing. Touch, in its quietest form, becomes undeniable proof of chemistry that words will always fail to capture. The voice has a way of betraying feelings long before the mind has time to filter them. When attraction enters the space, words may stay ordinary, but the sound behind them transforms into something unmistakable. The tone deepens ever so slightly, the pace slows down, and the rhythm softens as if each syllable is meant to be savored. Sometimes there's a playful lilt woven in, other times a hushed intensity that feels almost like a secret being shared. The change isn't forced, it's natural and instinctive adjustment that happens when the presence of another person awakens something deeper inside. One of the most telling signs is variation. A voice that usually speaks quickly may suddenly stretch words, allowing silence to fill the spaces in between. A tone that is typically casual may drop into something smoother, richer, and more deliberate. This is not about performance, it's about resonance. Attraction carries with it a need to connect on more than just the surface, and the voice adapts accordingly, becoming more magnetic and more intentional. Laughter, too, becomes part of the language. When interest is strong, the sound of laughter is warmer, more frequent, and sometimes even exaggerated, not because the joke is so funny, but because the heart is searching for closeness. Laughter is one of the oldest human tools for bonding, and when desire is in play, it becomes heightened, infused with a brightness that feels different from the everyday. There are also pauses that reveal more than the words themselves. A hesitation before answering, a lingering moment after your response, as if the person wants to hold on to the sound of your voice. Sometimes even the simplest question can carry a different weight when spoken in this altered tone. It becomes less about the meaning of the sentence and more about the connection the voice is trying to build. Even in group settings, the difference shows. A voice may lower when directed only to you, almost like creating a private conversation in the midst of noise. The way a name is spoken changes, becoming softer or wrapped in subtle emphasis. These small shifts may go unnoticed to most, but they leave a mark on the one who is being spoken to. In the end, the voice is not just a tool for communication. It becomes a mirror of desire. When attraction is alive, it turns ordinary words into something layered with meaning, leaving behind a trace of emotion that lingers long after the sound fades. When attraction awakens, one of the most telling signs is the sudden attention given to appearance. It happens almost unconsciously, a natural desire to present the best version of oneself in the presence of someone who matters. Small adjustments begin to surface, straightening posture, smoothing out clothes, brushing a hand through the hair, checking if everything is in place. These gestures may seem insignificant to the casual eye, but they are small confessions in motion, revealing the silent thought. I want to be seen in the best light. There is a difference between everyday grooming and the kind that sparks when someone is nearby. Normally, people might not think twice about how they are sitting or whether a button is undone. But when attraction enters the room, awareness heightens. Clothes are tugged into place, jewelry is adjusted, sleeves are rolled or unrolled, shoes are checked. These aren't grand actions. They're subtle, often repeated, and always tied to the desire of making an impression. It's not only about the physical adjustments, but also the energy carried in the way one carries themselves. Shoulders square, back straightens, and movements suddenly become more purposeful. Even walking or standing feels different, more deliberate, as if every step is meant to signal confidence. This quiet transformation is less about vanity and more about instinct, the human urge to be desirable in the eyes of another. Grooming gestures often intensify during conversation. A quick glance into a reflective surface, fingers running through hair, touching the face, or reapplying lip balm, all are signs that the moment matters. That presence has created a ripple strong enough to bring self-awareness. In truth, these actions are not about perfection. They are about effort. The smallest act of fixing something is a way of saying, your attention matters to me. Even in group settings, this behavior can stand out. While others may relax casually, the one who feels attracted becomes more polished, more alert to how they are being perceived. The desire to stand out doesn't always come through bold words or gestures. It often lies in the quiet adjustments that betray a longing to be noticed. In the simplest sense, attention to appearance is the body's way of preparing for possibility. It is the silent rehearsal of confidence, the unspoken signal of interest, and the timeless human instinct to shine brighter when someone's presence makes the moment feel significant. Nervous energy is one of the clearest signs of attraction because it's almost impossible to hide. When emotions are heightened, the body reacts instinctively, betraying feelings through small restless movements and changes in behavior. Hands may fidget with objects, fingers tap against surfaces, or a glass is lifted more often than necessary just to fill the silence of excitement. These gestures are not random. They are the body's attempt to release the surge of energy that attraction naturally creates. The atmosphere itself changes when this nervous current flows. The air feels charged, as if every second carries more weight than usual. Words might stumble slightly, or sentences may start strong but trail off. Not because of a lack of thought, but because the mind is working harder to manage both conversation and the emotions rising beneath it. Even confident people can find themselves shifting in their seat, playing with jewelry, or laughing a bit louder than usual when nervous energy takes over. Another unmistakable sign is restlessness in movement. Someone who usually sits still may suddenly adjust posture again and again. Legs may bounce lightly, shoulders may roll, and subtle shifts in position keep happening as if the body can't quite relax. This is not discomfort, it's the opposite. It's the excitement of being present, the anticipation of connection, the inability to stay perfectly calm because the moment feels alive with possibility. There is also a brightness in expression that reveals everything. Smiles appear more frequently, sometimes at the smallest cues, and eyes seem to light up in ways they don't with others. Nervous excitement doesn't only live in movement, it radiates through the face, through quickened breathing, through the spark that makes interaction feel charged with something unspoken. The voice, too, often gives it away. It may rise slightly in pitch, or words may be spoken faster than usual, betraying the adrenaline that comes with desire. Sometimes the opposite happens. The voice lowers and slows, not out of calmness, but as a conscious effort to balance out the restless energy inside. Either way, the shift is noticeable, and it always points to the same truth. At its core, nervous energy is the body's way of reacting to attraction it cannot ignore. It's the restless dance between excitement and vulnerability, the undeniable signal that presence alone is powerful enough to unsettle the rhythm of the heart and awaken something that cannot be hidden. Attraction rarely needs to be spoken because the body, the eyes, the voice, and even the smallest gestures reveal the truth long before words ever arrive. Each sign, whether it's the lingering stare, the shrinking of distance, the subtle touch, the change in tone, the attention to appearance, or the nervous energy that fills the air, carries its own language. Together, they create a story that can't be hidden, a rhythm that pulses beneath the surface of every interaction. When you begin to notice these signals, you realize that chemistry is not built on chance. It is written in the way two people respond to each other without even realizing it. Attraction is not shouted, it is whispered through details, and it is in those whispers that the real message lies.